thank you very much for attending our webinar today. My name is Ala Shaheen, and I am the managing director of DARPE. DARPE is the abbreviation of Development Assistance Roadmap Portal of the Middle East, in which we aggregate tenders and grants on a daily basis, and we classify them and we map organizations working for development for the specifically which design, implement, deliver, evaluate development assistance and development cooperation projects throughout the MENA region. DARPE webinars are small capsules or a small 1 hour webinar in which we usually discuss ideas, success stories, and projects, case studies. Professionals usually present these ideas. One way to share the information and to share the knowledge for our valuable audience to learn from. Hopefully they can then put such learning into practice by designing new programs and new projects, capitalizing on successful methodologies and ideas shared. Today we have Dr. Suha Baklawi. Dr. Suha, she's from her own business, Business Sita. This business supports women-led businesses and women entrepreneurs. So she has that specificity, business related to women and to the context and to the issues that women and challenges that women are facing. Today she will go for, with us today for a general and specific presentation on issues women are facing in general, women are facing during crisis and COVID-19, and the ways forward to improve and run their businesses more properly. I will leave Dr. Suha to start her presentation and to share her slides. But just to let you know that everyone is muted now. Once the presentation is finished, completed, hopefully in 20 minutes, 25 minutes, we will have the questions, and I will moderate these questions for Suha to answer for. Thank you very much. Dr. Suha, you can share your screen if you want.
Thank you, Mr. Ala. Hello, everybody. As Mr. Ala said, I am Suha Al-Baklawi, founder of Business Sita. We are focused about women empowerment in business. I'll be sharing with you guys this screen. Mr. Ala, can you see it well?
Yes, yes, perfect, yes.
Where we have about 20 minutes to run over a crisis effect on women-led businesses. We'll start with the first slide highlighting, just a sec. Yeah. Okay, the first slide will highlight what is the crisis, or how is the COVID changing the world right now? How is it creating the new normal? There are some things that will stay with us for a longer time, and there will be other things that will just stay temporarily with us. Here we have an example of the temporarily behavioral changes, which include limited gathering, travel restrictions, hygiene requirement, advanced hygiene requirements, and protecting vulnerable groups. The permanent changes in behavior is the remote working. The whole world now is more into remote or work from home direction. Mixing work-life balance, access to e-commerce and logistics, everything now is becoming fully digitalized, or in other words, this crisis has accelerated the digital acceleration and integration in our lives. And finally, e-health. E-health will always continue with us as a new normal. Followed by that, we're going to highlight, or we're going to understand the crisis loop that we're walking through right now, and how this reflects on the human behavior in general, consumer behavior in general. There's a loop now between health measures, regulations, patients' behavior, general public behavior. There is economic disruption, the slowing down of the economies, the shutting down of some economies, full shutdown, and of course not including, of course, travel restrictions and travel permits. along with the behavioral shifts, or in other words, these three, the behavioral shifts that people are having a lot of anxiety, people are not operating their regular life, people are trapped at home, people are unable to see or to maintain their regular lives. This has a direct reflect on the customer behavior and has a direct shift in the customer behavior. This loop is creating an anxiety and loneliness and depression, travel restrictions, so people cannot take time off, cannot deplug, cannot be more in nature to overcome an anxiety and depression, especially in the MENA region. Damaged trust in hygiene and hygienic people and products. Of course, now for everyone, it's not safe to buy anything that's packed. You need to check out how the packing is. You need to be sure that it's hygienic enough, or we will avoid delivery. Tension and conflicts are rising as a result of all this pressure and anxiety piled up. People are starting to optimize working from home and setting, I guess now everyone has a workstation at home and they're working on it. Of course, sadly, due to the economic disruption and the layoffs, there's a high level of unemployment rates. This is another thing that's causing depression and loneliness. Takeaway and home delivery have become essential, extremely essential for the time being. No one is going out. And of course, limited contact between generations and identifying that self is different from jobs, because some people used to think that I am who I am because of what I do. But now this is all changing. And this is changing on the conscious and unconscious level. We are understanding this consumer behavior or this customer behavior to highlight or to know how to deal with them. Before reflecting or before knowing how to deal with them, we're going to just highlight the statistics of women-led businesses in the MENA region. As you can see, agriculture and business is 9%, education and publishing are 5%, engineering and petroleum is surprisingly 13%, fashion and handcraft are only 10% here. However, there's more, according to UN Women, there's more than 40% of fashion, handcraft, and catering are informal businesses. So if the informal business sector becomes formalized, I'm sure that the fashion and handcraft will go up to 30%, and agriculture, agribusiness and food will go up to another 15% instead of 9%. Finance and banking is 9%, interior design and furniture 9%, manufacturing is 9%, medical and pharmaceutical are 14%, services and technology 15%, tourism and events are 5%, and finally 3% for trading and exports. Okay, this is statistics on the MENA region conducted on 152 members from BWE Association for 2020. Okay, I'll just put this up here. Here, we're going to highlight the current impact that is a result of the customer change or the consumer behavior that's happening in the region. When we ask these businesses, the 152 businesses, how has the COVID or how has the crisis affect their businesses, they have listed that below around 5% large positive impact, which is of course the banking and fintech. Small have positive impact above around 10%. No impact at all is 20%. People who have the raw materials already there up and running, they are able to manage, or they are liquidating all the inventory, or they're not launching a collection. Small negative impact has jumped to 46%. Large negative impact has jumped to 20%, and people who are not sure yet the impact were about 5%. However, when asked their expectancy for the next 3 months, as you can see, we have here the highest numbers are small negative impact and large negative impact. Large negative impact jumps all the way to 49%, and small negative impact jumps all the way to 28%. And as you can see, the small positive impact and no impact are decreasing, and I'm not sure are increasing. This is basically just to highlight where the market or how the women see themselves or their businesses in the coming 6 months, 3 to 6 months actually. Here are the list for top challenges that women face. I'm sorry, I'm just moving Mr. Ala around according to the presentation.
It's okay.
For,
Take your time. Take your time.
okay. Here, just a sec. Yeah, this is better. Better. Okay. Okay, so we are going to discuss the top challenges in facing women-led businesses. But before that, I need to highlight that there's an informal part of challenges that women face, and this informal part covers or acts upon or is about 50% or 60% of the challenges in general. This includes the challenges of homeschooling for the kids. This includes the increase in domestic work, in caregiving work, handling anxiety, turbulence, maintaining mental well-being, overcoming and supporting or creating a support system to the surrounding families, etc., etc., etc. This is mostly a load on women only, or especially in the MENA region, and we understand that. However, the world is already going into the direction of overcoming gender-based roles and responsibilities at home. So this is not our topic now. Our topic is to highlight the challenges for women in business. When we asked them the challenges worsening your business as a whole, they highlighted that quarantine effect was a problem, the time, the restrictions, and the curfew. Technology integration, partially or fully, most the businesses in the region were only about 10 to 20% in technology integrated, and most of the women did not have the awareness of technology integration other than posting their products on social media platforms. Reduced or altered consumer consumption behavior, of course the change in purchasing behavior and shifting in the behavior and the purchasing behavior in general, and of course limited capital availability. And limited capital availability is an ongoing challenge with women, starting all the way from the gender pays gap, and especially Business Data focuses on the silent segment of A, B, and C class of women, which is the silent segment, and they're called the silent segment because they're financially dependent on their partners or family members, so they are already on tight budgets. When asked them challenges worsening the business productivity in general, of course, supply chain shortages. The woman that said that they have no impact, and in the previous slide, and within 3 months will have a small negative impact, is to do the shortage of supply chain. Of course, the travels and shipments are cutting it off. Usually, the suppliers are in high populated areas, so women are unable to go and purchase them, or actually won't take the risk to go because there's a high risk for COVID. Factories and workshops closures, of course, this is due to the governmental regulations, and not everyone has the availability to open a factory only for a short time of hours, or to have the workers commute from far distance only to work for a short time of hours. Labor unavailability, and this is basically even though this is for the daily labor, not regular employment. And again, labor is not as sufficient or as active as it was before the crisis. However, there has been labor inquiries to work from home, but the personnel themselves are unequipped. They don't know how to operate from home. They don't have the tools, etc., etc. Staying productive and motivated. A lot of women are losing their drive, are losing their motive, are losing their passion. Of course, limited capital availability, and then again, slower shipments of goods. Some of the businesses need raw materials from abroad, and this is, of course, closed from the supply chains. Some people have sent their orders abroad, and this is, of course, closed due to the shipment regulations, etc., etc., etc. Okay. This way we highlighted the challenges. Now we're going to discuss how a woman should act, or how we should act for this current status and post-pandemic. You can find here two diagrams. The first diagram is how to pivot your business core to fit the new normal. And this is for the current status and post-pandemic. Basically, I'm sorry about that. Basically, research, you need to research your business, you need to understand the consumer behavior, you need to understand the general market trends, how is it going, you need to understand and develop full market awareness. You need to have everything clear, you need to be set with the government regulations, etc., etc., etc. Pivoting the business itself, after you do the research, you'll find that there's changes in consumer behavior, that there's changes in the services and the way you deliver your services or product. If there's a change in the industry itself, etc., etc., etc. Then you define a roadmap for the needed resources and for a 6-month timeline, or a 6-month accomplishment and a 1-year accomplishment to reach out for the needed resources. Finally, you reach out to access your market in the new channels. For this to be done in a diagram that is convenient enough, we do something called pivoting and trial cycle. And this is basically a cycle we keep on working on it, trial and error, till we get it right. Or in other words, till you get the business best fit. This is basically, you screen the channel itself and you see if the channels you are marketing your product or service through you're adding something new to it, or is there some type of redesign that's happening, or it's similar as it was before the pandemic. If it's new, you'll need to adapt for it in the business pivoting. If it's similar, then it's as it is. If it's redesigned, then again, it will need some type of pivoting the business. The second part of the cycle is the market segment. Is the market segment the same? Is the market segment changed? The market segment asking for some type of development for the product, for the service, for the method of treatment in general. And finally, the offering itself or the service itself. And then again, we can see here, for example, the offering and the market segment. For takeaway foods, some restaurants have already now, instead of sending you the pizza that is fully cooked and you just eat it right away, they send you the fresh ingredients that is packed individually for you to bake it at home. This is considered a redesign in the offering itself as a result of the redesign of the consumer behavior himself. So we keep on working on this cycle here, channel, market segment, offering, etc., etc., until we reach a best fit for our business, to know that this is the new normal that we're going to work on for the coming 1 year, 2 years, etc. This is the business survival and growth tactics. Finally, we're going to highlight here how technology should be integrated, or needs to be integrated in our everyday life, accelerating the businesses, or how will technology help women overcome the pandemic easily and how to work on it easily. Of course, now everything has gone online. So we'll start by front-end digitalization and then highlight back-end digitalization. Of course, marketing is known for front-end digitalization, which is basically social media platforms. Marketplace is basically a website or Facebook marketplace, etc., etc. E-payments is paying online through credit card or PayPal or any type of payment method. Shipping and delivery. Usually, women, usually I'd encourage you guys to find a platform that works on all of them integrated together. And there has been a platform launching in the MENA region we have partnered with that has the marketplace, the e-commerce and e-payment and shipping and delivery all integrated. We prefer that to remove the headache of the woman, to not be doing the marketing on a channel and then reflect manually the marketing from the social media platforms to the marketplace, and then manually doing it on e-payments, and then manually following up to it with the shipping and delivery. The thing is, the more automation there is, or the more the softwares are integrated, the less human errors there is, and the less headache it is on a woman. This is basically a front-end digitalization. Front-end, you can say that it's anything that has to do with the end user. Back-end is, of course, accounting, HR, financial forecasting, manufacturing, and work in process. I'm not going to waste your time in getting in details through all this, but then again, integration is highly preferred in digitalization in general. There has been a platform for financial and forecasting, and there has been a platform for accounting. Hopefully we'll try to find a platform that integrates accounting, HR systems, and financial forecasting all together, along with the manufacturing. However, the manufacturing is not needed if you are a micro business or if you're not in the manufacturing sector. This is a full description of the cycle of a digitalized business, fully digitalized business. Of course, this is what we tell, or this is the main points highlighted out loud and what women should do. But then again, it's the woman's business, so it's 80% her role and her responsibility to maintain and develop and sustain the business itself. In order to do so, the woman needs to follow certain guidelines or roadmap, and we have it here highlighted in 10 steps. First of all is maintaining the work-life balance. And here's a tip and trick for this area that women do better when we balance a lot of things. We do not operate as a one box per time type of mind. We operate as a spider web. So for you to get in a better mood, I encourage you to do a balance between a couple of things. And when you do the balance, or when you have a timeline set for something and the task is not finished by the timeline, let's say you give yourself 2 hours to finish an assignment or to do work or something, and this task at work is not done yet, then directly you close the 2 hours and you start with the other thing, because this will help the mind and will help you maintain your work-life balance. Of course, this is done through overcoming self and surrounding anxiety, maintaining leadership, persistence, and commitment. I encourage you to work with your team online to be more adaptive, to be more flexible, to be more understanding, to do a weekly activity. If you want, you can do it a coffee table, a virtual coffee meeting where you just chit chat. You can play games online, but you need to maintain and develop a positive and adaptable environment to decrease the anxiety and loneliness previously mentioned in the slides before. Formalize your business. And this is a huge step that we need to focus on in the MENA region. Women do not tend to formalize their businesses as a fear from high taxations, doubting themselves if they'll be able to formalize, if they'll be able to sustain the business or not, not having enough budget to do everything, etc., etc., etc. But we encourage you to formalize the business. This way, you can benefit and gain from all the governmental and ecosystem regulation opportunities and grants that are available. Also, this way, you are able to partner with accredited partners, and most importantly, just in case you get in any type of dispute, if you're not formal, you cannot protect your business. So this is a huge point. And don't worry now, the MENA region as a has worked out a system for micro businesses and taxation files, etc., that you can hold your taxation file and hold the business itself if you can report that you have profit loss, so you won't pay taxes, etc., etc. Fourth thing is awareness of the market in general, to be generally aware of your market sector, to be generally aware of the consumer behavior in the market segment and all over globally. Number 5 is assess your current business situation to see the best fit for new normal. Then again, this is the cycle of core business pivoting, previously mentioned. Number 6 is benefit from current available resources. Of course, through the pandemic, there have been governments and private sectors and ecosystem enablers, etc., etc. They all have something called community contribution or crisis contribution. Benefit from that. You'll find a lot of things for free. You'll find network access that can help you partnership or open new opportunities or find new segments or complete your business cycles. You can even do new partnerships. I'll give you an example. For example, Business Cita has dropped in sales about 85%, and for us to overcome such a time or to invest in such a time, we have engaged in partnerships and we have turned our business fully online. Number 7 is oversee governmental regulations, governmental and global regulations. Then again, travel restrictions, governmental rules, for you to not be working in your own bubble, and then when delivering something or when handing something over, you'll find that it's blocked by a certain governmental rule that just was published, etc., etc. You need to see the whole scope. You need to see the big picture. Number 8 is screen and optimize to access fund, and this is very important. You need to know where you and where your business is. What actually are you looking for a fund? Are you looking for angel investors? Are you looking for grants? Are you looking for loans? Are you willing to give up equity shares? Are you willing to give up a whole department? Are you willing to have a partnership? How far are you willing to go, and why? And accordingly, you should approach this channel and ask specifically, because if you approach all the channels in the same time, and you don't know what exactly you want, there's a big probability that you will have a weak portfolio and you will be rejected by all. Number 9 is pivoting the business core itself, and this is basically after we do the research and develop strategy and access resources and then access the market, the cycle of the business core. This here, pivoting the business core, is basically the channel, market segment, offering cycle, pivot and trial cycle that we previously mentioned. Finally, having your business fully digitalized. We highlighted how the business is digitalized, whether front end or back end. Most probably now women are trying to work only on the front end of the business digitalization, which is a good step for the time being, but sooner or later they will need to get fully digitalized. And honestly, I personally recommend that you hire a partner, you partner with a software company while hiring or while asking a CTO partner to be with you, or to have a CTO advisor, because it's usually better to have someone who has technical expertise to be with you on each step of the way while developing your own software, if you are, while engaging in any partnership with software companies, because sometimes the company is in a place and you as a woman entrepreneur in a different place, and there's conflict that happens and there's misunderstanding that happens. So I prefer that you hire, even for a project or as a freelance or task-based, a CTO, or have a CT advisor with you. Technological advisor with you. And by this, we have come to the end of our presentation. I hope it was clear. You can see here, guys, that this is the roadmap for you to follow for the time in pandemic and post-pandemic. And I'll be waiting for your questions.
Thank you. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Suha, for this very interesting presentation. And I think it's a comprehensive, starts from shifting in consumers' behaviors and going through business development strategy or business strategy with the pivoting businesses, and then with that even the offerings and channels and segmentation, and ending up with a roadmap of 10 steps that you just have clarified. Thank you very much for that. I'm asking now the attendees to, if they have any question relating to what they have just heard. Yeah, I have here, wow, I have the first question coming from Marwa. Marwa says, how do women who have a small business, agribusiness project deal with the market? How they reach out to the customers and grow their business during the pandemic? By the way, these projects in Upper Egypt, and they don't have any idea about the digitization. So how women in Upper Egypt who work in agribusiness can reach markets, or can support their businesses? They are they don't have digitization and don't have access to resources. So what can they do?
My advice here for them is, of course, sadly, Upper Egypt is one of the areas that have very, very low digitalization, but they can try to communicate with suppliers in the urban areas of Egypt and send it to the urban areas through regular transport, while having their own social media platform, as in a Facebook page and Instagram page, at least to market their product via it, or at least to have someone to see or to have an overview on them, because basically without technology and without digitalization, there's no way that people in Upper Egypt can be connected, or people in underprivileged areas can be connected. And now these social media platforms have become very convenient, and everyone around the whole world, I guess, can have or has access to a smartphone. So I guess we can start by them having social media platforms along connected with the WhatsApp number, or even just saying on Facebook and Instagram. It can be in any language, and a Facebook Blueprint now has educational tutorial videos for setting your page, for connecting, etc., etc., and it's done in so many languages. This is for the time being. Of course, hopefully after that, I hope that Egypt can have initiatives that are responsible for those underprivileged women, or those underprivileged sectors that are unable or do not have the capabilities or the knowledge to work digitalized. This is one thing. Another thing, it's an initiative, but it's still cooking. We still are finding ways to work on it. We are intending to do something called encoding divas, and this is basically, instead of us teaching underprivileged women handcraftery and industrial labor, we're going to teach them coding and sourcing and computerizing and software, etc., etc. But this is a huge project, and we're still working on the governmental support for it, etc., etc. But hopefully it will be launched within 2 to 3 years.
Excellent. But still, the ones in Upper Egypt, can they? Is this the issue of the infrastructure of technology, or their non-awareness of existing platforms? So, as you said, that there is a front-end platforms and then back-end platforms. These front-end platforms can help them in marketing and sales and payment, receiving and revenue. So they don't have access to these platforms. They don't know how to use them, or doesn't have access to them, or they don't know about them, or it's an infrastructure issue.
Actually, they don't have yet the access for them, and these platforms do not have free tutorial videos. So for you to be engaged on such a platform, you will need to take an online training with them or online guidance. And this, for the Upper Egypt or underprivileged people, this is still hard to access because they lack the knowledge of training itself, and because we do not have an infrastructure there that we can build on, or tell them, okay, go to the certain capability and we'll teach you from there. Sadly, it's both, it's infrastructure and awareness, but I think there are initiatives about reaching there. I mean, they're not ignored. They're just going to be delivered in second phase or third phase.
Yeah, excellent. I understand that, but it's not a matter of they are not. I know that businesses, to grow, they have to have the business women themselves have the decision and the العزيمة and the passion. So they can do things by themselves without waiting for people to integrate them or to catch them up. So
yes, but I need just to highlight something. There was a study done by UN Women that economic empowerment for Upper Egypt has resulted in increased domestic violence. And this is basically because when women started to have a voice, men started to hit them. So we have too many issues to tackle in Upper Egypt. It's not only regarding the business, but what we're trying to do for the time being is to have the women work undercover to not fuel the domestic violence. So basically, we have them working in small workshops, in mashghal, etc., working from home, for them to not have been beaten or to not undergo domestic violence for the time being, till we change the culture as a whole, until we adapt all that.
Yeah, the least costs, the least. So you can get. There is another question coming from Randa Hilal. She said the formalization issues. How can, to formalize businesses, how can women address the burden of being formalized while the same laws applied for big companies and huge companies are the same one to be applied for micro, small, medium enterprises? So how can those women, formalize their business and get rid of this burden?
Actually, there are some government initiatives now for women and for youth and for local businesses to start to ease for them the formalization process, and they give them grants and opportunities. Miranda, we have partnered with a legal partner, and we know some resources that can help you and guide you while assessing or while screening for the establishment of your company, because you need to take care on the type of establishment itself, if it's going to be an LLC or sole proprietor. For example, for us in Businessita, we do consultations, but if we had registered the company as a consultant, we would have had very high taxations. However, we registered the company as capacity building, and by this small trick in formalizing the business itself, this has helped us with the taxation file, this has helped us with a lot of opportunities, etc., etc. So perhaps the government has done a lot of effort in this area for youth and for small businesses. This is one thing. You need to be updated by the Ministry of Investment. You need to be updated by the governmental initiatives as a whole. You need to follow up with the Youth Forum. Above that, we have the expertise to help you formalize the business in case it's a special case or you don't have guidance for it. I hope by that we can work our way. I hope by that I answered your question, but there is different ways. I just sincerely encourage you to formalize your business. You are losing on so much by not doing that. And it's not as costly as it was before. Formalizing a business can start by 4K, 4,000 Egyptian pounds. Can start by, if you're doing something a little more developed, can go up to 5 or 6. And you pay them for the guarantee that your work does not go on through sustaining your business.
Excellent. Yes, formalization, non-formalization usually is a debate, but the formalization has so benefits outweighs the negative of non-formalization. Yes, every formalization, every step that we do as businesses, we should have. There are some challenges that we have to combat and to overcome. The third question comes as from Dr. Isam Surur. He said, do you know someone that can help marketing micro businesses located in Upper Egypt?
Depending on, actually, Dr. Asim is a friend of mine and he's one of our partners. He's our financial partner. Partner. Depending on the segment itself, Dr. Asim, dependent on the industry. For example, if it's something that has to do with fashion, tourism, I think we have some people that can help at least market, or a platform that gathers such issues. But if it's out of fashion, handcraft and tourism, I don't have any access for anyone in marketing. However, then again, I think we can develop, or we can, according to the demand of it, we can work a process through, or we can develop a strategy in doing so.
Yeah, I can see, Suha, that so many questions comes in, that there are not so many questions, but the questions are focused on one activity, which is one issue, that women in Upper Egypt, or even marginalized women or women in general, they have good products, they have good business they can do. whatever the type of business they can do in the sector. The issue that they still lack those enabling environment in terms either of regulatory, whatever, formalization, and into business support, marketing, going into digitalization. And that's why there were some kind of these incubators. Do Egypt or the Middle East, this kind of, there's a big, last 3-4 years, donor agencies were supporting that. Let's just have this mezzanine. This mezzanine, the floor that is hidden but supports the women to grow up and to by giving them support, networking, business. Is there any incubators in Upper Egypt, or how do you think of that?
Actually, there is I think one taba in Jazz for Upper Egypt, and I'm not sure if there is one taba according with I think Ninepreneurs. It's called She Women. But then again, these are revolving around the manufacturing of handcraft and how to make your product be sufficient to be sold worldwide or to be sold in Cairo. But you do have a strong point that women struggle a lot. Formality, non-formality, women usually do not have the business expertise to do so. Usually they are limited by societal restrictions, stereotypical restrictions, etc., limiting them from such access. And applying to incubators and accelerators is not the easiest thing to do if she does not have ABC business, if she's not aware of what she's looking for, she'll probably not be accepted. So there is a minimum line or a minimum requirement for applying to such or for being accepted by such incubators and accelerators. And I guess this is where we step in, and this is where other ecosystem enablers step in from the private sector to fill in this gap.
Excellent. We have another question from Denisa. She said, we see that working together in networks helps small enterprises to stay focused and to help each other. Are there any networks for women-led businesses across the region?
Of course, there is. Most common off the top of my head is BWE, Businesswomen of Egypt 21. There is Ashoka. There is something called C. I think it's an academy for women empowerment. There's so many. There's Entrepreneur L. They do master classes and workshops. There's so many networks focused on women in Egypt, and each one is actually holding a different segment. There's people who are working with gharimat, or what you call it, the people who have been in prison for not being able to pay back funds or loans. We have people that have been working with underprivileged women. We have people that have been working with domestic violence survivors. We ourselves, Binsita, have been working with Bahia, cancer survival warriors, etc., etc. So there are a lot of networks. However, they're not connected in one yet. You need to be in the environment itself to get to connect with the ones you need or the ones that you're looking for.
Okay, perfect. So Dr. Saha, I think women, I understand this kind of networking from Visa, and it's the networking certainly is important, so they can share knowledge and they can share support. Again,
I'm sorry, I cannot hear you. I'm sorry.
Do you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay. So I understand this kind of networking and networks, and this is the importance of them, that to connect people together and be focused. Still, women need more. Those entrepreneurs need more than they need a big hand to help them out. A big hand that is really even subject matter expertise should be in to play to support them. Is this right?
Yes, this is fully right, and it needs to be done in a way that fits the women themselves, because they usually have a lot on their plate. Like, you cannot say we're giving a training from 9 to 5 for everyone, and you'll find women will not be able to commit because they have other commitments, because they have other things on their hand, etc., etc. And actually, this is the part where Businessita is trying to fill in the gap. that we're trying to find solutions and complete business cycles for women across not only Egypt, but the MENA region, according to their convenience and according to their tailored needs. We do master classes, but usually our work with women is based on one-on-one expertise, one-on-one needs, one-on-one project evaluations, etc., 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 one-on-one circumstances, etc.
Yeah. So the third question comes saying that if a woman now, and as either woman, and in the current crisis situation with this kind of social distancing and the curfews and the quarantine, even if the situation will improve, hopefully, inshallah, what is the first task now currently you advise women entrepreneurs to start with? Is to start doing this trial again and business strategy again? What's the first step they have to start so they are in a situation that is complicated, revenues are not well, expenses even more than revenues. What do you advise them to do now? The first
actually, it depends on what stage of the business she's in, because some people have asked me, is now a good time to start a business? Yes, now is a great time to start a business. There's too much turbulence going around, but there's a lot of opportunities and there's a lot of time on your hand. And not only you are researching the market, the whole world is researching the market. So you'll find a lot of researchers and a lot of numbers and a lot of data out there that's helping you. So is it now time to start a business? Yes, now is a great time to start a business. Okay, what if I am in Series A or pre-Series A? I'm still in the area of revenue generating. Well, revenue generating, then perhaps you need to do more cost management. I do not prefer whatsoever that you cut off your team member. I prefer that you talk with them. And if you're in pre-series or in the revenue generating phase, then probably the employees you have with you are committed and are loyal to you in the business. So do not let them go. It will be hard to find them again, but you can discuss with them payment terms. You can give them alternatives. You can help them, I've seen different examples in their payments, etc., etc. Of course, if you have high expenses due to rent or etc., etc., again, if you're formalized, you'll be able to take your right according to the legal agreement that you have signed. If you're not formalized, then I encourage you to step out of whatever high expenses you're working on and to develop your business more. Now is the time for you to develop your business and get everyone working. Does not necessarily have to mean with the end user, but they can do the back office work. Or if, for example, you're in the fashion industry, you can start from now creating the collections for 2-3 seasons ahead. Invest the time itself. This is if you're in pre-Series A or in January revenue generating phase. If you're suffering with raw materials, then again, I encourage you to do this. If you are up and running and in the growth phase, of course, now is not the time for growth. However, now is the time for partnerships. You can do alliances, complete the business cycles for your sector, strengthen your position, add a cutting edge by doing something extra, etc., etc.
Yeah, exactly. And I know this time downtime usually is people capitalize on this time to review their strategies, review their segmentation, review their channels, and even sometimes to reduce those components that are losing and capitalize on those components or activities that are making benefit and profit, so they can more into streamlining their operations and streamlining their strategy, as well as for partnerships. And here comes we have DARPE as a platform, or even donor agencies nowadays are looking for, which is, I have been seeing that, like Enable, the Belgian cooperation agency, and the European Union, there's a European Union, the neighborhood instrument, and current grant coming up from it's ongoing from the Belgian cooperation office, from Grand Challenge Canada, another international organization getting money from the Canadian government. They support social enterprises, women specifically, and the issue that the most important issue is that they have an idea, they have a project, they have something that is promising. Then they give grants for them to flourish and to grow up. So they give them the expertise and the marketing and the sometimes the design of the products. So in which they can flourish, and then according to the objectives of these grants, non-refundable grants, is to scale up and to spread development and to spread enhancing women positions in their economic and social empowerment, employment generation, and so on. So this is a time for organizations to look for partners, either grants or in-kind partners who can support their work.
Yes.
Like
yes.
CSRs, for instance.
Yes, I totally agree. And I think DARPE is a great platform that has a lot of resources that everyone can benefit from. Perhaps, Mr. Ala, you can send on the data for the women who are asking for donations and funds. I just want to highlight one thing. As women, there's an important thing. This is a crisis. There is a psychological background. So not all women are able to be productive, and some women beat themselves up because they're not able to be productive. I just want women to understand that it's not a competition. It's okay to be to have an anxiety and to be not productive and to lack motivation and to lack drive, but lack for the current time being. And if you're in a place that you cannot lead the rest of the team, then I totally encourage you to put someone else better to manage the team for the current phase, because it's not a competition and you're the leader. So if you fall down, the whole team basically collapses. So I just wanted to highlight this important note. I think there was another.
Yes. What sectors will flourish in the coming period?
Actually, it's not clear yet, but anything that's fintech, anything that's e-commerce, fashion, if they'll do virtual fitting, of course, organic and natural and home farming products. What is happening now is forcing the whole community to be inclusive. So communities will start to develop the products themselves locally. So basically anything that goes local, anything that has is relevant with fintech, anything that is can be done from distance or remote will probably flourish. But then again, these are my own insights. It's still too early to read the world map and how it's going. What we know for sure is that digital integration has become a must and is accelerated in our everyday life.
Okay, and we have the last question actually, so we can end up our webinar for 1 hour, and now we have 5 minutes to go. Is there any known foundations in Egypt can market women's production from agribusinesses like dried tomatoes or organic cultivations, and encourage these women and take them like their projects as initiatives? So
actually, Marwa, BWE has a sector for agribusiness, and they help you with the exporting and importing channels. They help you by offering certain workshops regarding agribusiness. So I encourage you to be a member with them and to attend their annual conference, because you get to network and meet with a lot of people worldwide. This is one thing. Another thing, as Mr. Ala was saying, there are things for social enterprises. So perhaps if people who are working in the agribusiness, if your workers, for example, are underprivileged, then you can apply for a fund because you're working on a social cause, you're solving a social cause. If you're working with domestic violence survivors, etc., etc. So there are 2 channels that I encourage you to work on. First one is, of course, join BWE 21. They'll help you.
Abbreviation of what, please? Abbreviation of what?
Businesswomen of Egypt 21. It's an active association for businesswomen in Egypt. You do an annual membership, and then you'll get opportunities, ongoing opportunities through the year. And second thing is add a social impact to your business for you to open multiple opportunities in grants, funds, support, etc., etc., etc. I hope by that I answered all of your questions.
Yes, you do, and thank you so much for your interesting presentation. The presentations and the recordings will be posted at the DARPE website. And Dr. Suha, we will be providing you with all the names and the people, the emails of the ones who have participated today. So you can be in touch with them and they can be in touch with you. And
Yes,
thank
we'll
you so much
them up.
for this, for your time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you all. I'll be contacting you independently after dark,
Yes.
and wishing you all the best. Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye bye. Bye bye.